If we take the 20 largest wildfires in California history, 6 of those have occurred in the last 5 years. If we take the 20 most damaging wildfires in California, 9 of those have occurred in the last 5 years. If we take the 20 most deadly wildfires, 5 of those have occurred in the last 5 years. So we're dealing with a clear and present danger of wildfire in California.
Our human intervention, unfortunately, has been fire suppression. And now 100 years after fire suppression, we have this massive amount of biomass.
2017, 2018, 2019, we have seen these punctuated events like the Thomas Fire in Southern California, and most recently the Camp Fire in Butte County, which is on the record books, unfortunately, for the largest, for the most damaging, for the most structures lost, and unfortunately for the most civilian fatalities in recorded history. I think the biggest catalyst change that these recent events have shown us is that we need to relook at the totality of not just the suppression mission, but the prevention mission.
The Office of Emergency Services at the County of Nevada has really retooled our whole operation around this wildfire threat.
After the campfire, it created a sense of urgency and a sense of the way things had been done before, the status quo wasn't going to work for us.
Ready Nevada County is a collaboration of all of our first responders and all of the stakeholders who have a vested interest in making our community safe, having healthy forests, and addressing this threat that we see throughout the county.
Really, you have to go back to the beginning of 2019 in January, when the governor's administration identified that the state of California was going to fund 35 prioritized projects across the state of California.
So we went straight to our plans. What projects do we know that are in the queue that we're ready to go? We looked to our community wildfire prevention plan, and the one at the top of the list was the Ponderosa project for Western Nevada counties.
It just has all the ingredients in the recipe. It sits right on the toe of the slope. It's right at that transition between the grass oak woodland and up into the heavy chaparral, and that transition into timber. It really starts at that foothill band where you start to see the population base kind of within the wildland urban interface areas.
The Ponderosa West Grass Valley Defense Zone is situated on the historic Ponderosa Way, which was designed to protect communities and to protect the forest from fires that started down in the grasslands.
We were fortunate enough to be amongst the 35 projects that were identified by CAL FIRE as priority projects within California.
So we received $1 million to move the project forward in that vein, and then we also received fire prevention grant funds from CAL FIRE to move the project forward.
The Ponderosa West project is actually a shaded fuel break. It's not a fire break. Fire breaks are typically clear cuts where everything within the proximity of the fuel break is removed.
Accomplishing much of the fuel reduction work that we have out on the site right now is CAL FIRE, private resources, as well as our own Fire Safe Council team. The different types of ways that we're approaching the work out there is hand crews in the more sensitive areas, and then in the more wide open areas where we can actually use it, we'll use a mastication method where we can actually chew up larger trees and brush.
We leave trees, we leave shade for the landscape. And that's important because we want to protect the environmental resources that are there. And also, this is where people live. And we want to make sure that we are maintaining the aesthetic of the area as well.
I am helping to protect 2 federally endangered species. The first one is Stubbins morning glory. The second plant is the Pine Hill flannel bush. My day-to-day is spending a lot of time crawling through Manzanita, looking around, being aware of my surroundings, and surveying for these rare plants. One of the species that we're protecting is the McNabb cypress. In the absence of fire, many of the McNabb cypress groves are very overgrown. So having the opportunity to go in and thin these cypress, help them become more resilient to fire, is protecting the older trees, but then also setting up younger trees to take over in the future.
One of the things that we know about California is that it's a fire-adapted environment, and the species that have developed here over eons are designed around the idea that they want to capture the site after a disturbance. It's a natural succession process that occurs in the forest, and we mimic that by installing a shaded fuel break versus a fire break.
In this project, we're also pulling all the archaeological records to make sure that we're not disturbing anything.
There are professionals that need to be brought into a project, as well as members of the tribes in the surrounding area that need to be consulted in order to really ensure that not only are the resources on the ground protected, but all the cultural values that those tribes hold dear are actually protected. So by locating those, recording those sites, bringing them up to a current standard, through the process of maintenance or any future projects, they're identified, they're known, they can be protected forever.
This project encompasses several different types of land stewardship. We have private landowners here. We also have public lands. The county owns parcels in here. And on a larger scale, we have BLM, which is Bureau of Land Management and Federal Properties.
So we are working with over 175 private landowners. We're knocking on doors, we're sending out letters, and we're bringing in folks who are interested in participating in the project. It's all voluntary.
My wife and I, when we first moved in here, realized that we weren't even able to see a whole lot of this property behind me. We couldn't even walk through it, it was so thick. They took all the manzanita down, they left a few here and there for aesthetics. I really appreciate the fact that I'm able to come back in this back part of the property and see it in the front part of the property is even better.
Through our close partnership with CAL FIRE as well as the County of Nevada, we've been able to execute this project a lot more effectively and efficiently than other projects that have had the same size and same issues that we have.
The landscape, in essence, is park-like. It used to be heavily vegetated and, impassable, and now you're able to move through it, and it's beautiful.
December 31st of 2019, we completed 131% of our first-year goals. That's just amazing. I am absolutely confident that we will see 100% completion across the scope of this project from stem to stern.
This is a project that is going to be 1,200 acres protecting Grass Valley, but also we want to build upon the Grass Valley Defense Zone project. We'd like to see, another 1,200 acres north of the project that connect and creating this contiguous shaded fuel break.
We're going to keep our foot on the gas. We're going to keep on going. We didn't get into this situation overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight.
This is just the start of what we need to be doing. We need to be mirroring these projects across the county, across the state of California, implementing these best practices that have been put in place and modeling the collaboration that we have achieved in Nevada County.
I think after the campfire, there's a paradigm shift in the community. We have to do what it takes to build defensible space around our homes. We have to do what it takes to be ready for a red flag warning or for a PSPS power shutoff. We have to have our go bags ready and talk to our family, our friends, our neighbors, our kids about what it means to be ready.